Song again. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Halls of Music. We are doing a deep dive with Birdsong by the Grateful Dead into improvisation and arranging. This video goes over theoretical concepts such as arpeggios, pentatonic scales, and 7-note scales associated with improvising with this particular tune. If you're interested in expanding your knowledge of the fretboard or just want to support what I'm doing as a music teacher, you can order this book here. It goes over 4 different keys where we get into the cage system, we go through the arpeggios, the pentatonic scales, and the 7-note scales of the major and relative minor throughout the entire book in a way that covers the entire neck. That's why it's called the Comprehensive Book 1. Because this is just the bare beginning of getting to know the fretboard on the guitar. I hope you have fun with this and enjoy these tutorials. So the first thing that you need to take into consideration when you're studying for any tune is what feel does that particular tune have? It's going to fall into 2 categories most likely. It's either going to be straight time or it's going to be swing time. Birdsong is actually in swing time. Straight time is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The and falls right in the middle between the beats. Now in swing time, the and is moved to the last triplet between the beats. So you have 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Now the and is going to be on that 3. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that is swing time. That basically means that every exercise that you do related to this particular tune, which you should be improvising and creating your own exercises for, all of those exercises need to be with swing time if they include eighth notes. If they're quarter notes, it really doesn't matter. But if it's eighth notes, they need to be swung. So that's the first thing that you need to make sure you can do, and we will cover that in this video as things progress. The next thing that you need to make sure that you understand fully is the harmonic relationships that you have within a tune that you're dealing with. Now in this particular tune, the improvisation is really simple. This is what the harmonic or chord progression looks like that we're going to be playing over. You can see in this particular example, we have the chord progression resolving to the chord E in the 4th measure. Now in this genre of music, the improvisation is really very loose. We can resolve it in the 4th measure, or in this example, you can see that it resolves in the 3rd measure. Having an understanding of this is really very important because all of the exercises that you create as you're dealing with the various arpeggios and scales need to have a sense of resolution to chord tones related to whatever chord is in each measure. In general, you can just practice with the chord progression in each exercise that you create resolving to the 4th measure, and that will get the job done. Or you can create exercises that resolve to the E chord in the 3rd measure. Either one of these examples are going to work great for the exercises that you create as you move forward. Now let's make sure that you can play this on the guitar accurately. So you want to hear the progression happening in a way that sets the tone or the mood. So if you can play the progression, that will be very helpful because it'll get it in your ear and help you set the vibe. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's take that same progression and resolve it in the third measure, except this time I'm just going to use the B minor 7 over E or E sus chord for 2 measures, and then the E major for 2 measures. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 2, 4. Now, it is a great idea to set up a metronome at whatever tempo is comfortable for you. Use your phone with the voice memo app or whatever recording device that you can possibly get your hands on and record your own backing tracks. I do this all of the time. I record the chord progression that I'm dealing with and then play to that by amplifying the progression through some sort of speaker or device like a Bose speaker or something. Or you can use headphones. I have included a backing track at the end of this video, so be sure to use it if you want to be able to improvise. You can use YouTube to speed it up or slow it down to whatever tempo is good for you. Okay, so the first little concept that we're going to look at is the mixolydian mode. I have provided a PDF in the link below that covers the entire neck for the mixolydian mode, going through each position. Today in this video, I'm only going to play in the 4th position and in the 7th position. I might use the 12th fret some. So if I was going to play the mixolydian mode with a metronome and I used 8th notes, they have to be swing time to practice it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So I just sort of made up that, version of the scale because I know it so well. That's how you want to know it. You want to be able to run the scale linear and in any fashion that you can up and down the neck, really intuitively getting it into your hands and into your head and into your ears. It can be also very helpful to sing it. That may also be something that you find that helps you to internalize the sounds that you're looking for. Another way to practice this scale is you can play just a root note or an E and play the scale or mode against it. That can be fun too, to kind of hear the root note and the mixolydian mode against it. Okay, once you've gotten this down and you can kind of mess around with it in these ways, it is also fun to play it along with the backing track. So that's just running it up and down. Now I'll noodle around and make some melodies. Now, the reason that these melodies sounded sort of like they had direction once I started playing melodically is because I was landing on chord tones of E. I landed either on an E note a G sharp, and B is 5. So sometimes I would land on B. Or I might intentionally land on something that's not a chord tone or that's really not resolved to make it sound tense. This knowledge is attained by knowing your arpeggios. So that's going to be the next thing that we look at is the arpeggios. In the link below, there is a PDF with all of the arpeggios for this improvisation. We are going to be using B minor over the B minor over E chord and the E sus chord or B minor 7, 9 chord. We're going to be using an A major arpeggio, and for E, we're going to be using an E arpeggio. So we're going to concentrate from fret 4 to fret 10 and use these arpeggios once we get them in our hands to be able to make music. It's a good idea as you're learning them to think 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. Right? So when I'm over B minor, I'm going to think B minor 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1. Or if I'm over the suspended E sus and I'm thinking A major, I'm still going to think 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3. Now that we have got the arpeggios in our hands a little bit, let's take and use them specifically to make music. So I'm not going to use any scale passages. The only tones I'm going to use is the actual arpeggios. This is a bit confining, which means the musicality of what we play is not going to be as interesting. But the idea is to be learning where and when the chord tones should be addressed within the context of the improvisation. So then we can go back and add melodic lines that are more arpeggiated after we've sort of mastered this sort of bland sounding way of improvising with only arpeggios. Now that I've kind of gotten the hang of using arpeggios, being as musical as I can possibly be, I guess, with them, let's go back and use the arpeggios, do some arpeggiated lines, adding into with some of the mixolydian mode to be able to sort of outline arpeggios and have some connective notes in between to give some variety. So it's a little bit of connective tissue there with using the mixolydian mode. And also my hands, when I'm running the arpeggios, gets used to playing arpeggiated lines, so that if I want to kind of, create my own sort of arpeggio where I'm maybe playing, like a B, D, E. Those kind of lines become more possible when my hand and my hands get used to playing arpeggiated melodic content. Finally, we're going to get to the pentatonic scales. This is my favorite of all the scales to use. I think they're the most useful when it comes to improvisation. They actually outline the 1, 3, 5 arpeggio of each chord, as well as adding some of the extensions to the content that's available within the scale. So again, the link below provides for you with the context for learning the pentatonic scales in positions all the way up the neck. I suggest that you do that, learn it all the way up and down the neck, but be sure to concentrate on certain areas so that you can get a more in-depth knowledge and gain an understanding of what it's like to have a deeper sense of what's going on with each pentatonic scale, arpeggio or melodic content related to the mixolydian mode. So I'll run the pentatonic scales with the metronome with swinging eighth notes. Here's E major. Here's B minor. And here's A major. Now you can create exercises that go through the progression. You could do 2 measures of B minor, a measure of A, and a measure of E. Second measure, third measure, fourth measure. First measure, second measure, third measure, fourth. Okay, that you can do this with your arpeggios as well. Now let's get into some improvisations with the backing track where we're using these pentatonic scales to be able to outline the harmonies within the context of our improvisation. We can throw all of this stuff together for a mixed bag of things to pull from when we're improvising. Now the main thing is just to be really getting associated with the colors of each arpeggio and each pentatonic scale, so that when you go back to just mixolydian mode, you know, just noodling everywhere, you have some sensibilities when it comes to outlining the harmonies. And you know, if you want to hear it resolving to E, you can go there. If you want to take it away from the resolution and stay in some sort of more tense environment, harmonically and melodically, you can do that as well. Had a bit more fun with that one, just kind of letting loose and really letting myself play. I hope that this tutorial has helped you to understand how you can apply theoretical concepts to improvisation. Now, one thing that I didn't mention throughout the tutorial that I should mention that's extremely vital to your ability to play with a sense of artistic depth is using other people's solos to learn from by learning their solos note for note. The formula that I have found that works for me the best, again, I'm not super awesome at this, but I think that when I feel like I'm improving the most, when I'm combining, you know, theoretical concepts and working them through the neck, but also using a lot of time to learn other people's solos, and not only just learn them in one place, but maybe learn them through several keys, if not all 12 keys, and maybe learn them in more than one place on the guitar. So if I learn, you know, a line by somebody, I might try to play it in a different place or in a different key. You you know, and get used to being able to play these little melodic ideas all over. You'll find that they use arpeggios and scales and pentatonic scales as a variety mixed bag with the way that they create. The main thing is to be having fun, so I hope that you enjoy yourself and have fun learning to improvise and get better at it every day.
Song again, you know